Support WrestleTalk!
Visit WrestleTalk.com. What next for Bobby Lashley? I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luke Owen, and welcome to WrestleRamble, a WrestleRamble that might date by the time you watch this, because tonight is the Superstar Shake-Up on Raw, and we don't know what the rosters are going to look like come tomorrow.
Or what the rules are.
What are the rules? So, yeah, well, Bobby Lashley, we are going to try our best. How about we just take everyone on the roster and go through them and we could possibly feud with.
I don't think we need to fantasy book a Bobby Lashley run, but Bobby Lashley made his return to WWE last week on Monday Night Raw, taking out Elias. Very much sort of, I don't want to say setting himself within that mid-card thing, because Elias' job is essentially to rile the crowd up and then have a babyface come out and beat him up. So at that day, no, I don't think they're saying that he's going to be a mid-card guy. But what are you going to do next with Bobby Lashley? Rumour has it, the report is that he's going to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship, but is Brock going to be around at that point? We don't know the details of Brock's current deal. Some say it's a long-term thing, and he's going to be around for... Oh, actually, in fact, Fightful said it's a multi-year deal.
Really?
There's a multi-year thing, but he's been working both WWE and UFC, where he can still do fights with UFC, but also still remain as a WWE guy, whereas some other sites, Dave Meltzer and many other, are reporting that it's a very short-term deal, as much as just 2 matches.
That's insane, and... I mean, you said the other day that you're more of the opinion that Brock is going to drop the belt at the greatest Royal Rumble show.
Well, that's certainly one way of looking at it, because some people are suggesting that maybe he's going to lose the belt there because Roman Reigns is going to get a much better reaction in Saudi Arabia than he would have done at WrestleMania, because, let's be honest, that WrestleMania crowd wasn't exactly going to cheer Roman winning the belt, and what they want is that coronation moment. What I actually thought was really interesting, though, is Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio when talking about this, was like, but what does that matter? Like, it doesn't matter, because he's going to go back to the US and get booed anyway, so yay, he got cheered at one show, but he's going to, like, it's not going to change anything, is it?
Yeah, it's hard to predict anything with Brock, because as we saw on last Sunday on WrestleMania, that was the most unpredictable thing that could have happened. Mm-hmm. We all thought he was leaving. We all thought he was going to UFC. I was certain. That's been reported for over a year by that point. So I'm reluctant to even put my eggs slightly in one basket.
No, exactly. It's
They're
difficult
just
to
going to
know.
get crushed. Little beautiful eggs.
I was going to say, it's very difficult to guess what's going to happen, but that does raise the question of, like, because I always figured that Bobby Lashley was coming in to essentially be the replacement for Brock, because Bobby Lashley is your big MMA fighter guy, because he has been doing the sort of like MMA gimmick ever since he left WWE and Impact and sort of around the world. So is he going to be still doing that sort of Ultimate Fighter gimmick? Do you need that when you've got Brock on the show? So
he's definitely not going to be competing in Bellator at the same time. No. Apparently, Dave Meltzer's already said that's not a thing. Apparently Bellator actually offered Lashley to be an alternate in their heavyweight tournament thing that they've got going on, and Lashley said no. So it's not like Impact where he'd do a fight and then he'd do some wrestling. He's in WWE for the long haul exclusively, it seems. Now, he debuted on Raw. Whatever happens in the Superstar Shake-Up, I would keep him on Raw.
Yeah,
I feel like everyone who debuted last week on those brands needs to stay on those brands.
Yeah, it would be silly to move them. Like, you wouldn't move the Iconics over to Raw at this point.
That caught on fast, didn't it?
Just
Iconics. It rolls off your tongue now.
It's funny you should say that, because like I called them the Iconic Duo in my SmackDown review, and there were quite a few people who took me to task saying, like, mate, they're called the Iconics now.
Mate.
Mate, I think you're fine.
They're called the Iconics.
They're called the Iconics.
I read apparently there's already a trademark for the Iconic Duo.
Oh, really?
Which is why
right, yeah. I thought you meant
elsewhere.
I think you meant by WWE. I was like, they've just trademarked it and then changed their minds and went with something else.
No, that's why they changed it. Kind of like the Riot Squad
with 2 T's.
With 2 T's.
Yeah.
So Bobby Lashley, what do you do with Bobby?
Yeah, because if you are gunning him in for this Universal Championship picture, you've got Roman Reigns potentially winning at Greatest Royal Rumble, winning the Universal Championship, and then a week later he's going to be facing Samoa Joe at Backlash. That could be for the Universal Championship, or it could just be Reigns versus Joe for Pride, or whatever it is. where, is Bobby Lashley going to have a match at Backlash, or are they just going to do these sort of like squash match things here and there on Raw and not really program him into a storyline for a little while and wait until he's and push him straight into a Universal Championship picture once he's ready for that point? Not when he's ready, but when like the time is right for him to get into that. Or do you put him into like a feud with someone else just to tie him over until he gets into the title picture?
It's weird because after Raw, there were so many surprises and shocks and debuts and returns and retirements and people turning up who used to be on SmackDown that Bobby, it just felt like, wah-hey. And afterwards, you're like, wow, that was such a fun, wicked show. But then you look back on it a week later and you're like, well, what actually happened of substance? And now I'm not worried about Bobby Lashley. It's almost like that Raw after Mania was out of continuity. Apart from the actual debuts, like any storyline stuff is of no relevance. So with Bobby, I don't think that was the strongest way to debut him.
No, it's not, because
make him return, I mean.
Well, this was our complaint about Raw, wasn't it? It was just that the debuts and returns that they did were just that. They were debuts and returns. Whereas you compare that to the iconic duo on SmackDown, like they insert themselves into a storyline. Just one call-up was better than multiple call-ups. Too many call-ups spoil the broth.
Yeah.
And that was a much better way of doing it, in my view, anyway. So, and that's kind of why, like, I have no idea where they are going with Bobby Lashley at the moment, because all we've seen him do is give Elias a suplex.
And it's like, if the end goal is that SummerSlam match, but so what was it, 2 months ago, Lashley was telling people, this was the report, that he was going to face, the plan was for him to face Lesnar at SummerSlam.
Yeah, Lashley told Meltzer, or Lashley's people told Meltzer, that Bobby has re-signed with WWE on the proviso that he's going to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship.
And then Lashley turns up in WWE, so you're like, okay, well, that's the clearest indication of a direction. But then you're like, but is Lesnar even going to be with the company?
Yeah.
And, I mean, Bobby wouldn't be the first guy who's been promised something on re-signing to then that never to materialise.
Look at Batista.
Yeah. So I don't even know like whether Bobby is a face or a heel, because on Impact he was well, I remember him most as a heel, as like this sort of badass dominating monster, but near the end of the run he was more of a baby face against the American team of MMA people.
American Top Team.
Yeah, that's it.
Because he started off very much as a heel, and then he was a heel with America Top Team. I can't remember how he ended his run, how the America Top Team sort of like all came to a head in the end. But I remember him very much being this sort of like, I think pro wrestling's dumb, I'm an MMA guy.
Yeah. So it's remarkable how much MMA influence there is in WWE right now, with Brock and Ronda and now Lashley.
I do think he will be a babyface on Raw, though.
Do you?
I think Vince looks at him and says, like, well, there's a babyface. And that's why he got called up so early from, I think it was OVW or was it FCW? It was one of their developmental brands. Bobby Lashley was there, and apparently the story is, and the people who worked at FCW have told the story, so it's not like a dirt sheet thing, is that they were trying to hide Bobby Lashley from Vince. Because they essentially they were like if Vince ever came down, they tried to move Bobby somewhere else. Because
just put a tree in front of him, like a little plant pot.
Basically, yeah. Because there was like, as soon as Vince sees him, he's going to call up to Raw, and he's not ready yet. He's not ready to go up there yet. And that's exactly what happened. He saw him and was like, "Why is he down here? We need to have him up on Raw and SmackDown." He got pushed up way too quick and was green as Goose S-word.
Speaking of backstage stories and stuff like that, have you ever heard the story where? Apparently that everyone's in I don't know who told this story. Can't remember the attribution, but roll with me. That it's like a creative team.
Did you read it on Reddit? But you can't remember
it was like a creative team meeting, and everyone's like talking about ideas, and they talk about one particular ex-WWE star that they don't like, and they say, no, let's not bring him back. Let's bury him that way. And then Kevin Nash apparently pipes up and goes, no, let's bring him back and bury him. And everyone's like, yeah,
what a great
So
idea.
Now Bobby Lashley left WWE not under the most amicable terms.
No, it was not.
So it was early 2008, I think, because of stuff that was going on before then. Sort of a fraught relationship with Michael Hayes, who is very embedded in the backstage WWE staff. And so it's like, I mean, it's been a decade since then. But with that feud with someone who's very powerful backstage, has Bobby Lashley just been brought back? Is there like a genuine, we want to push this guy as a big returning star? Because when he came back, I didn't get the feeling that he was a big star. And that the reaction since has not been about, oh yeah, Bobby Lashley's back. This isn't like a Batista. As much as I love Bobby Lashley, and I think he could be a huge asset for WWE, it's not like everyone's talking about him right now.
That's actually, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. I mean, even when we were doing our Superstar Shake-Up predictions on Saturday's episode, not predictions, but like fantasy bookings, if you will, on Saturday's episode, both of us were just like, oh my God, yeah, and Lashley, of course. So, yeah, and people haven't really been talking about Lashley. Like, I think if I had done my opinion video for Saturday on Bobby Lashley, it might not have had as many views as other topics would have done.
You mentioned on Wednesday's Raw and SmackDown review that...
It's just SmackDown review.
Oh, yeah, of course, yes. Because two episode again tomorrow Wednesday.
All the content again.
Where we can talk about how wrong we were today in Bobby Lashley's stuff. He's drafted to NXT, 205 Live, I don't know. But you said that, and I think you're probably right, people remember, the vast majority of people see Bobby Lashley and they remember the run in 2006 to 2008. Very short time. Like you said, he was green. He, of course, had that huge match against Umaga with Trump and Vince McMahon in their respective corners. But, you know, he didn't really do anything of note, and he wasn't amazing.
No.
Since then, he has gotten very good. I mean, it's been a decade since, and he was on top of Impact for ages. Really good champion. Looks awesome. I mean, look at his body. I said that. It's just going to... People are going to say stuff in the comments again.
Of course they are.
But it's what was my point?
Your point was more
just
like
thinking about his abs now.
People remember that sort of 2007,
Yeah.
like, you know, his feud with Vince McMahon when he was ECW champion. You know, that's what people might remember, is the ECW champion that no one wanted, because they put him in ECW, and people were like, yeah, we want Rob Van Dam, we want Sabu, we want the Sandman, and Vince was like, nope, you are Bobby Lashley and the Big Show.
Look at this guy I just found in OVW/FCW.
Oh man, where have we heard this since? Oh, here's a guy I've just found in NXT that I think is really good. You might not like him, but I think he's really good, and I'm going to keep on pushing him. I mean, I think he has learned his lesson.
So I think the best use of Bobby now would be to enter. I don't really want to see him in squash matches every week.
No.
I don't think that's the way to build him up and reintroduce him. I think enter a feud right away with a very good heel. I'm thinking Kevin Owens. That's the one that makes the most sense to me for some reason.
Yeah.
And then transition him into a proper like heavyweight hard-hitting feud. Samoa Joe.
Braun.
I think Braun's a tough one. Because if you have a feud with Braun, you're going to get dominated. Like maybe you save that for further down the line.
Maybe, yeah.
But what would you do?
I don't know. I think it's the same thing. Like, I'd put him into a storyline, because I think having him do squash matches, using Braun as an example, when they brought Braun up with the... Actually, we didn't even think of that when we did the draft. Braun's another one who just like he benefited so much from that draft.
Wow.
Because he got broken away from the Wyatt family, got to just go on his own, and became a star. But he didn't become a star straight away, because they were just doing these weekly squash matches. And it ended up being that it wasn't the squash matches that getting over. If anything, it was usually the guy that he was squashing that would get over. James Ellsworth, for example.
I like big sweaty men. That guy.
Exactly, yeah. So in the end, it wasn't until like they started putting him in storylines that Braun became the Braun that we know now. So putting in Bobby Lashley into squash matches isn't going to get him over, but getting him into a storyline where you can have good matches and have this, that, and the other, that I think is what's going to really help him, particularly if we are building towards a SummerSlam main event where he's going for the Universal Championship, be it against Lesnar or Roman Reigns.
I think now listening to you say that, though, I think maybe both approaches would be best. Have him in a feud where you can have some meat there, but also put him in a lot of squash matches where he's kind of staring down the opponent. Because his finish...
Well, with the Bludgeon Brothers, I suppose.
Yeah, good point. Because his finisher, was what seems like his finisher, which is that delayed suplex where he can hold people up for ages, that's a sort of move that can get someone over if you keep repeating it week after week.
Crowd chanting along.
Yeah. Counting. One, two.
Yeah.
See if they can beat it every time he goes out. And then you can get some meat on it with the feud as well. But what do you think WWE should do with Bobby Lashley? Let us know in the comments below. Now, as something we forgot to do last Monday and Tuesday
Saturday, yeah.
and Wednesday and then Saturday as well.
Yep.
But today we remembered is the actual results for our WrestleMania predictions. Now you could, if this was that important to you, you could have gone and found it out for yourselves. You just watched the video we did with the predictions and you placed that alongside the results.
Yeah.
But we are here to officially announce them. So, I got 6 out of 14 matches correct. What a crazy WrestleMania, though.
I know, we're just going back through our predictions
Still getting
for it.
used to it.
And
yeah.
you were like, God, that seemed like such a sure thing at the time.
Asuka and Roman Reigns. What the hell's going on?
I know, man.
You beat me.
Yeah,
You
by
got 7 out of 14, so congratulations.
Thanks, man.
I don't know
and
what.
I beat you at with fantasy booking as well.
And technically, you beat me at Royal Rumble as well. 2018 has been a
bad year for you, hasn't
romper
it?
for
Yeah.
you.
Well, yeah, maybe
A romper.
a romper stomper.
We don't know what the punishment is or what we'll have to do. That is in the hands of the WrestleTalk general manager Grado, who has yet to make his announcements.
He's a busy man.
Yeah, we'll find out soon.
He has more
I'm
important
sure.
things in his hands.
But the lady partners, what did the lady partners get? Both of our respective other halves gave their predictions for WrestleMania, despite knowing very little. And in my lady partner's case, that she did awfully. Knowing very little transpired into not doing very well. She got 3 out of 14. But she did correctly call Charlotte.
Charlotte ending the streak, which we all sort of scoffed at the time.
And it wasn't even like, yeah, but because she looks cool or she's got entrance music, which is how my lady partner usually does her picks. It was because she doesn't like the streak.
Streaks
she
are
thinks
boring.
it's boring.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are speculating that's what Vince McMahon thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, Brian Alvarez reckons, not based on anything, this is speculation, that Vince was tired of the streak. What can I do with a streak?
Interesting.
Just end it. So, but your lady partner, also not knowing much about wrestling,
She beat all of us. She got 8 out of 14. It was that Brock Lesnar pick of hers.
outrageous.
She picked Brock Lesnar and Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens, Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what sort of tipped her over the edge of beating us. But yeah, she got 8 out of 14. I was talking to her this morning about her Brock Lesnar pick because I said she picked Brock Lesnar the last 2 times when everyone thought that he wasn't going to win. And she just responded like, he just looks like he'll win. And the other guy's probably not going to win against him.
Yes. I mean, yeah, he looks big and mean. Weirdly, that was my lady partner's rationale against him. He looks too mean and aggressive. I like the other guy more.
Yeah.
So obviously she doesn't look like mean and aggressive looking men with
No.
this happy face.
This handsome chap over here.
So overall, the Team Davis got 9 out of 28. God, that is terrible. And Team Owens,
Yep, with the S on there.
got 15 out of 28. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thanks,
we already
man.
shook
We-
hands.
we- yeah, we shook-
we'll
we'll
do
shake
it
hands
again.
again,
Do it
yeah.
again. But it wasn't just us versus each other. It wasn't just the lady partners. We were also up against Wrestling with Regrets, Brian Zane. And of course, we didn't do separate ones. We did a unified pick for each one. And our unified record was exactly the same as yours.
So
It was 7 out of 14.
Yeah.
Just a few ones changed. Now,
Well, okay, so now
we've
we've
got-
got to talk about something here.
yeah, Brian is spreading fake news.
Brian Zane, Captain Fake News himself.
So I'm totaling up his, and I'm like, he didn't make an official Undertaker pick, but he did later on. And he said it was going to be an angle or something like we did. So I had him down as 7 picks right out of 14.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Brian declares in his WrestleMania reactions video. Go and watch it, it's really good. When he goes to WrestleMania, it's sort of like a vlog over the whole weekend.
It looked like a really fun time.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
got instantly jealous, didn't you, when all the parties were happening down Bourbon Street? And I was like, mate, this is what happens at WrestleManias. This is why we should go.
Well, yes, as fun fans, but this is our jobs, and we need to make the videos.
Brian's job as well.
But he didn't make any videos over WrestleMania
true,
weekend.
yeah.
He edited it all together in one that went up several days afterwards. We have put up an ungodly amount of content.
Still do it, man. We
So
could find a way.
yeah, we should do. Especially in in that New York area.
Oh, yeah.
I've wanted to visit that New York area for ages.
Yeah, not New Jersey, obviously.
So, Brian, in his video, for each result, as they're watching them live in the stadium, he has, like, how many I've got right, how many he's got right, and how many you've got right. And at the end, it finishes with me on 5 out of 14, you on 5 out of 14, and him on 7 out of 14.
How did this happen, Captain
This was a
Faces?
draw. This was a draw if you went up against... Not me, you beat me. Draw if you went up against Luke, but the unified minds of WrestleTalk and our unified predictions, that is 7 out of
It
14.
was also a draw.
We need a rubber match, damn it. Probably greatest Royal Rumble, right?
Oh, we're doing predictions
No,
now.
I don't care.
I was going to ask, are we doing reviews of that show?
Mate, we're doing a live stream of that show. Yeah. Even though we haven't got the studio capabilities to do it.
No.
I mean, it's going to be such a big event. If we can get some of that Saudi money in here, I'm more than happy to upgrade the studio.
Yeah.
But yes, let's move on to everyone's favourite gimmick segment.
So good.
Returning crap gimmicks.
Our first one comes in, so you've been sending your crap gimmicks to luke@wrestletalk.com. I try and pick out some of the best ones, and we put them here, and we'll judge and see if we can sign them to the crap gimmick roster. First up is from Vincent Lara, who has suggested Larry O'Laughlin.
Larry O'Laughlin.
Larry O'Laughlin.
Laughlin.
LOL.
Okay, let's see where this is going.
Is an aspiring stand-up comedian but wrestles to make ends meet in between gigs. Though due to his outstandingly unfunny material, he doesn't get many. That's stand-up gigs as opposed to wrestling gigs. In true Helix nature, he plays off this wanting to pick and choose only the best venues that are worth his comedic genius. He claims there are very few venues out there that are actually worth his time. Of course, he refuses to specifically say which ones, often visibly annoyed when anyone asks him. His finisher is the punchline.
Yeah, I already had that in my head.
Yes. While his opponent is standing and groggy, Larry raises his right hand so his open palm is close to his face. Then he yells one of his jokes into the open palm before he says the punchline, and Larry closes the palm in a tight fist and delivers a stiff punch to the jaw, which could either lead to a pinfall or a straight-up knockout. So that is Larry O'Laughlin.
It's a wonderful core concept that has been overworked. You just need to make him a stand-up comedian, and he just needs to tell crap jokes, Elias style, without the guitar. You're just telling some bad jokes. Get the crowd booing you. He's loving it, and then yeah, you just need the punchline. Just needs to be a clothesline from hell.
There you go.
You don't need all the stuff about venues and working. But the Larry O'Laughlin, and that's a good name because. That's so late noughties developmental name
It
level,
really
isn't it?
is, isn't it?
Larry O'Laughlin.
Yeah.
And it has the nice acronym of LOL. We'll sign you to a developmental contract because it needs. You need to bring it back to what makes that gimmick special, and that's the awful one-liners. Mm-hmm. It could come down in like a little sort of.
You're not wearing your gimmick again. I've just realised. You're not wearing your gimmick. It'll
come and go now. It'll come and go. Vince McMahon levels of consistency.
Yeah.
What was Andy Kaufman's alter ego called?
Oh God!
But he's got that sort of frilly shirt. That sort of dive bar singer.
You watched that documentary, haven't you? The
really
Jim Carrey.
good.
I haven't watched
Yeah,
it yet, but
it's
apparently
really,
it's
really
excellent. Harry Iverson has suggested Paul the Pilot. Paul the Pilot is a typical pilot when he makes his way to the ring, wearing the full commercial pilot getup with cap and aviators and his captain's stripes on his shoulders. And he walks like a pompous, ignorant jerk because he believes he's better than everyone else. I don't know if that's typical of pilots. Do pilots believe they're better than everyone else? Actually, currently, one of the MasterChef finalists, although I'm a bit behind, actually, MasterChef will have finished by the time this goes up. He's a pilot and he seems like the nicest chap.
I think Harry Iverson has had a bad experience with a pilot.
He may very well have done. Where was I? When he gets to the ring, he rips off his suit to reveal his attire, pretty much the tightest wrestling trunks you can find. His finisher is the airplane spin into an AA called the Rough Landing, and his catchphrase is, "Welcome on board the ass-kicking airline."
I think there should be a spot he does when the guys, that his opponent's on the mat, laying down, and then he just sort of jumps up and down as much as he can. It's turbulence time. I like the idea of a pilot-based character in terms of what professions can you crudely adapt to wrestling gimmicks. But I don't think that's the one. It just sounds like you've made a jerk guy. It doesn't really tie itself to the crappiness of the original concept.
I agree.
But when you were talking about that, I kind of want a Drake, not a Drake. Well, yeah, it's Drake. No, it's called Maverick. That's where I'm getting mixed up.
Oh,
from Top Gun.
The Top Gun thing, right?
I think
with
a Top
Drake
Gun
Maverick.
themed character would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you could have some skits where it's crazily homoerotic.
But no one makes reference to that.
No one references it. But I'm sorry, I just bit my tongue. Christ.
Oh, you're right.
Did you hear it?
I did not hear it, but
it's like a click.
Oh, I hear that. That's the worst.
I've just done a bump. So not for us.
Right, one last one from Fox.
Okay.
Well, this is great because the person who sent this sounds like they have a wrestler's name themselves because it's Fox DeVille.
It's not a real name.
So Fox DeVille has suggested Chimera after the mythical beast, the Chimera. Now, this is quite good. The problem is, it's basically the Beastmaster. Basically, she has 3 masks that are thinly layered over each other, each giving her a different ring persona. The lioness, brave and courageous, the goat, greatest of all time, pulling off her signature moves and reversing like crazy, and the dragon going to some rage that probably causes a DQ. She'll need to reorder them for whatever opponent she faces on that particular night. It's good, but that is basically the Beastmaster.
That sounds to me like the crap gimmick Federation has inspired a rival promotion.
Yes.
And this is how they've tried to capitalize on the success of the Beastmaster.
Yes.
This is WCW's...
Well, I was going to say, it's more like when a WWF guy or WWE guy would have gone to TNA back in the old days, and they would have been like, we can't do Goldust, but we can do Black Rain, which is basically the same thing, but not really.
But this wouldn't be the guy who plays the Beastmaster going over to the other one. It's more of a... there must be some examples of characters that other promotions ripped off. Yeah. I've only got Fake Diesel in my head, but that doesn't really work.
Bischoff always said that there is a reason why Goldberg was bald and had a goatee. And wore black trunks.
That one's pretty successful, though. But should we do some quick mailbag things before we get out of here?
So these are questions submitted to us from our Patreon, our pledge hammers. You've sent us a lot of emails. We'll try and get through as many of them as possible, but we might not be able to get through all of them.
Shall I set a timer?
No, because when we set
Oh,
timer,
come on, that's good, because that gives us...
You love setting timers, don't you?
I do. It gives an element of suspense.
But what time do you want to set it for?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. There's no way. But we're going to go through 2 questions.
No, we'll try it. Okay, we'll try and answer as quickly as possible. Go.
Craig Roberts, in your opinion, was the entire WrestleMania weekend a success or failure? Did WrestleMania live up to your expectations?
Yes, it surpassed my expectations. I think this is one of the most overall fun weekends of wrestling that WWE have put on in a long time.
Yeah, I also think that it was a success because it created a lot of interest and a lot of intrigue, particularly going back into Raw and SmackDown. Kenzie Green has asked, with Paige as the new SmackDown Live GM, do you think this creates an avenue for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to rejoin the brand? Also, what happened to Shane stepping away from the commissioner role?
Oh my God.
Just a drop storyline.
Yeah, that's annoying. It's like as soon as Daniel Bryan was cleared, I don't know. Okay. But why did that affect anything? Because Shane was always going to wrestle. I don't know. But Paige, I don't think so. I think she's going to be a face, and bringing Owens and Zayn back would be a heel move and create tension with Shane McMahon, which I have no interest in seeing. I think Sami Zayn comes back under another guise, hopefully El Generico. Although that is fantasy booking, I don't actually think that's going to happen. And Owens will go to Raw. What about you?
I agree the same thing. like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens going back because you have got Paige there, but Shane is still there, and like their issue was always with Shane more than it was Daniel Bryan. So like I don't think that's a viable option. Naomi Ford has asked, my question is, now Carmella has the championship, who do you think she'll feud with first after the automatic rematch with Charlotte, of course? Well, it seems that SmackDown is doing away with automatic rematch clauses. I mean,
we hope so.
It would appear so on SmackDown. Raw might still be sticking with it. But SmackDown was like, you have to fight to get your automatic rematch clause.
Yeah, now the former champions just have to win a match to get it.
Which is fine by me.
Well, yeah, I'd rather they not do the same matches over and over again still. That's one of the problems. They're just calling it a different name at the moment. We don't know how it all transpire. But Carmella, it's hard to say without knowing who's going to be on what brand. I guess the obvious choice is Asuka. Asuka versus Carmella, if Asuka's going over to SmackDown.
Yeah, and the Iconics as well. They've sort of already inserted themselves into that
but
title
they're
picture, but they're heels as well.
Yeah.
Becky Lynch is who I'd like to see, because Becky and Carmella have already had like a bit of a tete-a-tete.
I think Becky's going to Raw.
Did you see the video that Becky posted? They did like an interview saying, well, why didn't you go and help Charlotte when she was being beaten down? And she basically said, I was in the backstage eating quinoa.
Well, it's a superfood.
It is a superfood. Chris Smith asks, do you, meaning me, or Oli, watch Lucha Underground? Could Ultimate Lucha become an option for a future WrestleRamble extra? Getting hold of Lucha Underground is very difficult in the UK.
On first broadcast, yeah. I really was excited about that first season, and I watched a fair bit of it. And then I'd watch the matches that everyone's, oh my God, you got to watch this Lucha Underground match. Aerostar and Jack Evans and Angelico, Pentagon Jr. Awesome. And like Ricochet as Prince Puma. It's really exciting and different. But then it just completely died of interest.
Yeah, seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Particularly season 3, a lot of people really lost interest.
And there was that weird contract thing where people were signed for 7 years. Sounded like when you joined Scientology. It's a 1,000-year contract.
We'll see what season 4 might bring us. Nathan Thornburg asks, hi, Luke and Ollie. My question is, do you see the Universal Championship and WWE Championships being switched drafts?
No. Brands, you mean? Drafted in the brands.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Switch drafts.
Larry Lucas asks, should the women of WWE have a tag team title division? We've answered that before. No, there's not enough of them.
Well, there's quite a few now.
There's a few more, but you look at how many male superstars there are,
yeah.
And they don't even have enough tag teams to fill that out.
It's like there's also a problem of time on the shows. Like, is there time for a whole nother division? I don't know. Cameron asks, is it just me, or did last year's WrestleMania feel a million times more important and delivered a lot more in regards to every match other than the main event? This year's Mania was just okay to me. And it's funny because Cameron mentioned this, and then I was trying to think back of what happened last year's WrestleMania and couldn't remember a damn thing apart from the Hardys debuting. Hardy's John Cena proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was.
The IC? Oh, Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin. I couldn't remember what the IC match was.
Oh my God, I was exhausted by last year's WrestleMania. I was re-energized by this year's one, so I would have to disagree. Last question.
Last question from Alex Vaughan. Should we go with Alex Vaughan's question? Let's go. Well, we'll just do the bolded bits here. What WrestleMania match could you see main eventing next year's WrestleMania from a creative team standpoint? And what match would you like to see main event WrestleMania as a fan?
So one I think they're going to go with is Roman Reigns versus Ronda Rousey.
Roman Reigns? Yeah? Really?
Yeah.
No.
I was being silly.
Well, I was good. Well, be sillier.
Roman Reigns versus someone in the main event. Triple H. I don't know. But what I would like to see is Daniel Bryan versus a heel Roman Reigns for the title.
Okay, well, do you know what? I think one of the matches we will see at WrestleMania next year, I'm going to put my stake in the ground. I think we're going to see Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at next year's WrestleMania. Just as like a mid-card match sort of thing to kind of like really put a bow on that storyline that they've been building to for the last couple of years.
Can't we do that at a Backlash? At an Extreme Rules?
I mean, we can do.
I don't think that needs a year build and the biggest show of the year. I'd like Bryan to do something better.
I know, but look who's booking this company. From a creative standpoint.
Okay. And which one would you like to see? So what one would you like to see?
I mean, I don't know if that's the main event. I'd like to see that match. But I do think from a creative standpoint, I think it's going to be Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey in the main event, which is actually currently the reported rumour is that's going to be the main event match of WrestleMania 35.
Well, off the back of Rousey's performance at Mania, and if she continues this momentum, I think they should probably do that.
Absolutely.
Not in Saudi Arabia, though.
No, I'm not allowed there. I tell you what, let's have one last question. Only because it's from your favourite person. So this is from Dan, the mayor of Painesville. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Was it the right call to change Bobby Lashley's theme? And in brackets, probably the worst question of the suggested bunch.
It is. It is the worst question.
I can't remember what Bobby Lashley's old theme was.
No, I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, why did they change the theme?" And I can't.
What was it?
Can't remember because I wasn't watching wrestling that in depthly when Bobby Lashley was there.
I was though.
Oh, you were.
I was because I watched like December to December, and I watched all that crap. So like. I watched the McMahon Trump thing, and I was watching Raw basically week to week because I was in my second or last year of university. I can't tell you a single thing about Bobby Lashley's music though. Bearing in mind, I can't really tell you what his new music sounded like other than it was different.
Great question, Dan. But that's all we've got time for today. We'll be back tomorrow with the Raw Superstar Shake-Up review. So much extra ramble, more ramble than ever. But for the meantime, click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk videos. And subscribe to this channel and the podcast version wherever you get your podcasts. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.